Got audio. I don't know about this, people. I don't know about this. See if it's actually doing its thing here. It says I'm live, but it seems a little sus if you ask me. There it is. Now it's live. Hang on, I'm gonna get an echo if I let that go. Let me mute myself here. Looks like we got a 1080 stream. YouTube has been crazy lately with screwing up the streams. It's really been annoying. You guys tell me if it's working. I see Sadie, Welsh, Truefew, Justice. Yep, okay, so it looks like we're on. Let me actually double check my, let me throw my screen around here so I can keep an eye on my focus as we're doing this. On the panny over here. And I'll let you guys get in here, share this. This is going to be an interesting show because a lot has happened today. Unfortunately, we don't have real journalism like in the old days, but I'm here for you guys. And we're going to do some real reporting and some real critical thinking. I know, Gavin is always bringing up human rights and the law and stuff. Super annoying. William, Kelly, good to see you guys in here. Thank you all for coming. We've popped up to like 40. I'm going to start main topics here in just a few minutes, but I'm watching your comments. We're live. This is if you're watching this right now at 21:44 on the 20th, you're seeing me live. If you're watching it later, you might not be seeing me live. Yes, Friday was my birthday, and I thank you all for the birthday wishes. Unfortunately, the good news is it was my birthday. The bad news is I'm 40. So that sucks, I guess. But we keep on moving. We get intelligenter as we get older. Or at least we're supposed to, but I keep looking around at the world and not seeing a whole lot of intelligence-erness. However, your super chats, and thank you to our channel backers very much, and your super chats for birthday tacos are of course accepted today. Because as you know, down here in Mexico, pues la triste realidad es eso. You guys know that we don't have cake in Mexico, right? I mean, you guys follow Donald Trump and like all the news in the US. We don't have cake in Mexico. It's all we can do. It's all we can hope as we grovel in the desert sand, hoping to find a few drops of water dripping down from our God-fearing northern neighbors, that we can find a cup of water to sustain us for one more day as we grill our final tacos. So that's why I'm accepting your super chats for tacos rather than cake. It's wild down here. Absolutely wild. Now, because of my problems with internet, I did a speed test while being late getting the stream going. As you guys know, we're primitive and poor down here, but I did manage to get internet working. Amazing, right? So while we may not have even a single drop of water to bathe with, we at least have 800 megabit internet on fiber backbones stretching across the Americas. I'm just giving you guys time. Just giving you guys time to process and get in there. We're up to 50 now, so we can do this. I'm going to break today's show into like, I don't know, 3 topics or something like that. Because there's kind of been a bunch of crazy stuff. Looking, you guys, I'm watching your comments. I will be watching your comments, and I'll try and address comments. And yes, I saw a comment. If the supreme law of the land actually meant anything, the borders would not be wide open and we wouldn't be 36 trillion in debt. Actually, if the supreme law of the land meant anything, the borders would be wide open because the Constitution absolutely prohibits all immigration restriction. But yes, we would not be $36 trillion in debt. So no and yes. Okay, I just wanted to cover that. We'll cover that today. And I don't know if we'll get into the president of Mexico today. But let's talk about what's going on in the U.S., because that's kind of where I'm from, at least. And I do know, well, I know quite a bit about Mexico as well. But I know it's tough. I know more about human rights and the U.S. Constitution. And I also know that everyone following propaganda that was invented in the last 50 years to make them believe in fascism isn't studying history. And I'll show you why today. But there's a few good things. Welcome to the Gavin Seim Show. Welcome to the Gavin Seim Show. Let's start with the good things, because I just saw Trump just took office today. It was a big show. It was a circus, right? That's what we do. Trump, and this is wild. Trump is so, it's literally like a reality show. I know I'm from the U.S., and it's embarrassing watching my country. I mean, just last week, like 3 days ago, 2 days before his inauguration, Trump releases a scam crypto coin. Instantly is a super billionaire. Just, I mean, imagine using your power. It's so reality show. Using your power to release one of these scam meme coins and get people that have no idea what it is to buy it just because they're worshiping at your feet. So he makes billions of dollars instantly. And then, like yesterday, Melina released her own crypto scam coin, making billions more, not millions, billions. And here the rest of us are struggling to pay rent and pay the ridiculous price for gas. And these political elites can just snap their fingers and scam poor people for billions of dollars, and we're still just worshiping at their feet. It's truly wild. It's like you couldn't make a movie about this because it would be too ridiculous and no one would believe it, that any planet could be that stupid. However, despite the fact that you know how I feel about Trump, at least some pardons went out. Now let's talk about this. Everybody's talking about pardons. That's our first topic of the day, is pardons. Presidential pardons. The president does have the right to do this in the Constitution. People say, oh, they shouldn't have that right. They probably actually should have that right. If you're going to have a president, if you're even going to have that, they probably should have that right, because there's always so much political BS when it comes to prosecutions. So everybody in the morning is all carrying on because Biden pardoned his family and blah, blah, blah. But along the way, did you guys notice that Biden commuted the sentence? It wasn't the same as a pardon, but commuted the sentence of Leonard Peltier. And this is actually huge. Anyone on, regardless of which side of you're on, that understands that the FBI is a criminal organization has been seeking for Leonard Peltier's release for a long, long time. This guy's been in prison for like 50 years, right? Where's the Jeff Winehouse pardon? Where's the Jim Hamilton pardon? We're still waiting for that, right? But this was a Biden pardon. Let's start with the Biden pardons for the day. So yeah, Biden pardoned his family and his buddies. This is what presidents do. I don't know why anyone's shocked or outraged about this. If you were president and you felt like your friend was going to get railroaded, or your family, you would pardon them too. So let's just not, why do we even have to go on? It's always one side against the other. But at least Leonard Peltier got a commutation of his sentence, where he's been sitting in prison for 50 years because of FBI terrorists. That's huge. So, you know I'm not a Biden or a Trump supporter, but props to Biden. There's a lot of other pardons that weren't issued. Now, today, and I admit I was a little surprised that this came down right off. Trump got in here. And here it is on the White House page, and granted pardons to a bunch of people from the January 6th so-called insurrection. Now, I remember this happening. I was telling you guys then, all the way back then, that Trump was a joke, right? Why were we doing this big thing for Trump? But I also said immediately as it happened and as all the fake news came out, this wasn't an insurrection. The only criminals here were the police. The only people that killed people and hurt people in any serious manner were the police and the government. The government is always, just like the Bundy Ranch, just like Lavoie, just like Leonard Peltier, just like the January 6th, just like most of the other things that happen on the sides of the fence that you don't agree with, the government are the criminals. The police are criminals. The courts and prosecutors are criminals. Okay? So despite the fact that Trump is a circus, literally, it's like a reality show, this is good. Because I was thinking, oh, he isn't going to do anything. And some of these people I know personally, Stuart Rhodes, Joseph Biggs. I mean, these are people I've sat next to, that I've talked to, that I've been on shows with, things like that. I don't know all these people. My impression, well, the first thing I asked when people started sharing this, oh, Trump's so great, he pardoned him. Well, is this everybody, or is there still people rotting in a cage? Well, the vice president, whatever his name is, I don't think anybody cares really, Vance, apparently said that the people who committed crimes against cops wouldn't be pardoned. The only people who committed violence were the cops. The cops should be the ones being charged. So it's always a BS cop-out. These pardons are good, and it's something, I guess. It's something. Okay? Now, one that I haven't seen yet is Ross Ulbricht, right? Ross Ulbricht is still sitting in prison on, again, BS government charges. And at one of the rallies, I believe that Trump made a commitment that he would pardon Ross Ulbricht if he was elected. So let's see if that happens. That would be good. I've been rooting for him. There's so many names, guys. There's a list of so many names. I want to mention them on all the videos. But it would be good to see a Ross Ulbricht pardon. Okay, so Trump did this slew of, and this is normal now for these presidents to make a bunch of unconstitutional orders, saying that under their authority of the Constitution. No, the Constitution, literally their only authority is in this little booklet right here. This is the wild thing. Trump is completely ignorant of the Constitution, and I doubt his advisors are, but they simply don't care, just like our courts and government agencies. People don't understand. I want to make this clear. This is the Constitution of the United States. This is the rule for the federal government. The founding fathers debated that we shouldn't have a federal government because they would get out of control, and the people that were for it said, no, we'll limit absolutely everything they can do to the Constitution, and they can't do anything. They can't just do whatever. They can only do whatever is written in the Constitution. Everything else, Ninth Amendment, is reserved to the people and their rights and the states. This is all the government's allowed to do. So when it says that the president, right, you come to the Constitution and you go to Article 2, flipping here, the executive power shall rest in the president, and it's, what is the executive power? Well, it lists it in here. But the only things that he has power to execute are the things granted in this Constitution. Right here. It's tiny, guys. The Constitution of Mexico is huge comparatively. And huge constitutions are just because constitutions that are easier to change always get huge. The U.S. Constitution is so hard to change that they barely change it, so they simply ignore it absolutely blatantly. Okay? So let's go to the next executive order that stood out to me. The pardons, good. Okay, props for that. Props for at least sticking with your people that got screwed because they were standing up for you, Donald Trump. But let's start pardoning the other people from both sides of the aisle that are rotting in these ridiculous for-profit prisons. All right? But here's the next one. Guaranteeing the state's protection against invasion. I'm so sick of the word invasion. I'm sorry to sound like a broken record. I'm sorry if it offends you that I've actually read the Constitution, but more importantly, I've actually studied history and human rights. Yes, I'm an expert in immigration law. Not the law of how you actually get in, but in the history and the law of the United States in regards to immigration. All the so-called conservative speakers, right down to the Chris Ann Halls, are always disagreeing and peddling the right-wing socialist line that, oh, we have to protect our borders from invasion against immigrants. This does not exist. It's propaganda that was created in the past 30 to 50 years by an NWO government complex meant to teach you that you have no rights. Now, let's come back to the point of the fact, though. Guaranteeing the state's protection against invasion. Okay. Now, if there was actually invasion happening, That would be valid, right? That's article, is that Article 4? Let's find the article. It's in here, but I don't really want to read the whole thing again. And so we go to what article? Here we go. Article 4, Section 4, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. We don't have that anymore. We have an oligarchy of the Supreme Court and the presidential elites and their politicians because they ignore the Constitution entirely, and shall protect each of them against invasion. Okay. Now, here's the problem. And this whole new anti-immigration declaration that's completely illegal, the president has zero authority to do this. The federal government has zero authority to restrict immigration. But let's come to the facts, right? And I know I have so many videos on the channel. Most of you simply ignore me and keep repeating the propaganda because you've been taught that you feel better about yourselves by hating people from other countries and thinking that your government's keeping you safe and nannying you into submission, and that giving up your freedom will make you safe. I understand this is what we've been sold and that it's hard to get past it, but a lot of people, by actually that want to listen, like Tony, I've sat at a lot of tables and explained this and said, you know what, this isn't freedom. And I've seen people's eyes light up when they finally realized how much we've been duped. Because I was duped too by this American lie. I live in America too. Mexico is also America, by the way. So let's not even call the U.S. America. It's the United States of America. Now, let's come back to the declaration, right? Basically, this is just a bunch of drivel saying we're going to lock down the borders and we're going to abuse people and they're invading. How many times is invasion? Invasion is used in this 19 times, okay? Invasion. Now, if you read that, it's like, oh, okay, well, the Constitution says we protect from invasion, and Trump's finally protecting us from invasion. Yay! As we all, like dribbling fools, follow suit. What is an invasion? Can somebody drop in the comments what an invasion is? Has anyone bothered to use a dictionary that's in the federal government? No. They have, but they don't care. They only use words to abuse us, all right? Let's go to the American Dictionary of the English Language. You could find this in any dictionary, but invasion. A hostile entrance into the possession of another, particularly the entrance of a hostile army into a country for the purpose of conquest or plunder or the attack of a military force. The north of England and the south of Scotland were for centuries subject to invasion each from each other. 2, an attack on the rights of another, infringement or violation. That's interesting because the people that have a God-given and constitutionally protected right to cross the border whenever we want because the government has no control over immigration restriction. 9th Amendment, 4th Amendment, 5th Amendment, 6th Amendment. Everything in the Constitution in every possible way prohibits the government from restraining you from traveling across the border. And there's no invasion. An invasion is a simple and defined word. And then I'm going in, right? So there's no invasion, but this is what government does for ignorant people who don't study, read, or learn history. They take words like invasion and they repeat them 19 times when the word invasion has no practical application to the discussion at hand, which is immigration, the government's restriction of immigration in opposition to the authority granted them by the people in the Constitution of the United States. It's not hard. If the authority isn't granted here, and or if it violates the rights of any individual, the government can't do it. That's the law. And everybody's like, they have to follow the law. They have to follow the law. They're following the law. They have a right to go wherever they want and be left alone. If they commit a crime and they violate or rob somebody, then the sheriff could step in. Then they've committed a crime. Moving freely as a fundamental human right, and one also, by the way, protected in the 4th Amendment, but not granted by it because it's already a fundamental human right, is not a crime. It cannot be a crime, and any politician or a person who claims that it's a crime and uses force against another to do it read John Locke, can justifiably be met with equal force, and the person defending their right will be 100% justified in doing so. This means if immigrants use lethal force against the Border Patrol for trying to forcibly stop them from traveling to go to work in an orchard, I'm not saying they should do this, I'm a man of peace, but legally they are completely justified in doing so. The Border Patrol is a terrorist organization engaged actively in treason against the United States Constitution and its people. These are simple facts, you guys. These are very, very simple facts. You have to read. You have to stop listening to your favorite celebrities and study history and where we came from. Then he goes in. What he brings up here, I'm like, he's going to say it. He's going to say it. No, he wouldn't be that ignorant, but he's going to say it. And here it is, second paragraph. The Congress has, in establishing, quote, a uniform rule of naturalization, created a complex and federal scheme in the Immigration Nationality Act. The Immigration Nationality Act is completely illegal. The uniform rule of naturalization, an authority granted to the federal government, one of the few in this little book right here, is, always has been, and is only extended to creating the rules for becoming a United States citizen. In fact, the fundamental rule was that you had to immigrate first without permission, right? You come into the country and you had to reside for a certain number of years. Then you could become a United States citizen. Naturalization, it's like, I've studied this all the way back to the first Congress, right? Because when I started to finally wake up at how much we were being duped by all this propaganda that's literally been created almost exclusively in the past 40, 50 years. But even in the 90s when I was a kid, no one cared if the illegals had papers. The word they all said about the illegals and the farmers and the conservatives, oh, they're hard workers. We like them. They're good workers. They're good people. They're nice. So most of the propaganda was created like in the past 15, 20 years, honestly. Most of the propaganda came after 9/11 when they trashed the Constitution even more. No one was running around saying the immigrants were terrorists, you guys. This is all propaganda that they pivoted off of after 9/11 and brown people terrorists. I'm sure this video is getting demonetized. Are you understanding what I'm laying down here? This is simple facts. This isn't me ranting because I'm a leftist. Or I'm a rightist. I'm not a right-wing socialist. I'm not a Democrat. I don't even know if I'm a libertarian. But I'll tell you what I do care about is people being treated justly and honestly. And all this immigration propaganda, it's satanic. It's against the Bible. It's against the Constitution. But hey, let's not go too preachy. I'm talking facts tonight. The act or process of naturalizing, the state of being naturalized, such as A, the course of action undertaken to become a citizen of a country other than the country where one was born. Naturalization. Naturalization Act. There is no inference. There was never an inference that the government had any authority. In fact, if you go back to the transcripts on the floor of the first Congress, 1790, right? Someone jokingly brought up the idea that maybe we should restrict who comes into the country to the only people that we think are beneficial for the country, and then proceeded to laugh with his colleagues and say, of course we don't have the authority to do that. If you need any more affirmation, not because I'm just a leftist idiot. Like they're always telling me, I know I've never studied history, I've never researched it. Here is a copy from 1790, the original Naturalization Act, right here, right? So here's what happened, just in case you're not sure, because I know, I understand we've not all studied back to the first Congress. I'm not saying you're stupid because you haven't done that. But you are stupid if you haven't done that, if you're saying that immigrant and poor people crossing the border should have to drown in a river and shouldn't be able to freely cross on the open public land because they're invading no one, because everyone has the right to travel. If you're saying those people should be abused, you have no right to be saying that until you've studied history. No one needs to give papers. No one needs to be a U.S. citizen. That was never a requirement. Guys, when this was written, U.S. citizens didn't exist. The level of ignorance goes to people telling me these rights are only for U.S. citizens. There were no U.S. citizens when they wrote this. They were debating that we shouldn't even have a United States or a federal government because it would grow and abuse us. That's what the anti-federalists wanted. And that we should only have the states and the colonies. Are you seeing how much you've been duped yet? How many videos do I have to make before you'll stop opposing freedom and God and stop hating your neighbor? Please, listen. This is true terrorism against the poor, the weak, the fatherless, and the widow. God won't look away from this and the things that people are supporting. It's outrageous. Okay, the law again. I know I'm taking my passion feelings and mixing them with law. Here's the Naturalization Act, just in case anyone doubts. So they wrote these articles in the first Congress in accordance with the authority that the Congress was granted in the Constitution, right? They ratified the Constitution, then they had a first Congress, and they wrote federal laws. So these are the first federal laws, March 26, 1790. Okay? I know there's all this racist, free white person stuff. I'm not here to say that the founding fathers were like always the good guys. A lot of them were just complete a-holes. What I want to point out here, though, is that this entire act, we talk about the Immigration Reform Act and all these laws the federal government and Trump and all these fascists are always talking about. There's 2 paragraphs here, guys. Approved March 26, 1790. 2 paragraphs. It's literally only the rules for how to become a citizen, how to apply to become a citizen, and who's in charge. That's it. That's all they could do. That was the only authority granted in the Constitution. End of story. Look it up. And it's truly amazing to me that I can go up with something so simple, and the constitutional experts and lawyers and teachers of our time, they try to brush me like, oh, no, what it is the naturalization, and we have to protect on the borders and the invade. And they just kind of like babble right down to these so-called experts. And there's no one I can't debate on immigration. I will invite any of these conservative talk shows to debate me on immigration because I'll just go to the facts. Even if you don't believe in God and that he commands us to treat everyone as a citizen, right? Even if you don't believe in Jesus and loving your neighbor as yourself, even if you don't believe in human rights and freedom, and you're out saying they have to follow the law, they have to follow the law. This is the law. So that is what I found interesting. Yes, pardons today, that's good. And then a whole bunch of unconstitutional stuff about invasion. And there's some other interesting things that the president also has no authority over in almost every case here. However, because of the pardons, I won't say it was all bad today. But using the word invasion with people who are just trying to freely travel, which is their right to do, is from a president of a country, is criminal. Meanwhile, while he's selling you his scam crypto coin. It's wild. This is absolutely wild. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Biden was better. He was abusing all this stuff too. But also, don't get mad at Biden for pardoning his people when Trump comes in and pardons his people. Now, there's a ton of people that should have been pardoned that Trump is not pardoning, but at least Trump gave a commutation to Leonard Peltier. I've been waiting for that for years. I'm waiting for Jeff Winehouse to be released. I'm waiting for Jim Hamilton. I'm waiting for so many others. Let's see what he does with Ross Ulbright, because he made a commitment on that. Can anyone debate me on this? I'm not seeing that many trolls even tonight. Maybe there's just nobody watching. Maybe I'm talking to the air. Well, there's 50 of you in here, so that's good. I think that covers this main topic, and I will close this topic so I can cut this out and save it later. But guys, please, I know I get ranting about this. I'm very passionate about it. It's because I've actually done my research, because I actually care about people, because I actually want us to treat people like Christ instead of just saying the word Jesus, because I actually want the Constitution, even though I know that it's imperfect and it didn't give us our rights, it's still the law in the United States, and it's treated like absolute trash. Yes, we the people, Chris, are being played. If you continue repeating this garbage, supporting Trump and stopping the invasion, protecting the border, He's not protecting the border. The federal government is not protecting the border. And the other one that caught my eye that I thought was interesting is designating cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Do you guys understand that the drug war, all this craziness and violence, this was created by the United States and its allies? Do you understand the most violent cartels down here? They sent U.S. operatives to train them. Sound familiar? Oh yeah, ISIS. The government creates and supports these things that destabilize countries and governments and cause mass death. And then they use it to create fear in you against poor, innocent people that have done nothing to you so that you hate them contrary to the law in every possible way and abuse their rights. And you tolerate giving up your own rights in the name of protecting you from these phantom imaginary people who are doing nothing to you. And the actual criminals are working with your own government that you're voting for. Let that sink in. All right? Peace. Okay, there's my main topic. Just cut that out. Yes, problem, reaction, solution. This is not that hidden of stuff, guys. The government comes down here. Now, I'm not saying this happens in the case of every cartel. I think it was that the Zetas? One of the most violent cartels that's actually largely collapsed now was directly trained by U.S. soldiers and U.S. operatives so that they could do the chaos that the U.S. government wants. Why? Because they want to legitimize the drug war. They want you to be afraid. They want all the ignorant Texans on the border to think we're being invaded. And yes, Mr. John Boy and those from other countries, this is happening all over the world. The U.S. is so blatant about their abuse, but it's not like most countries. You can look at almost any country. Governments don't have the right to decide who travels. These are the edicts of fascist imperial nations. There's no invasion. An invasion is an army coming to your border. Yes, the federal government has a right to intervene with an actual army coming in to conquer you. There is in no possible context that you can legitimately take that word and apply it to immigration. It's simply abuse. It's absolute abuse. It's not a conspiracy. It's the facts. It's the law. It's what's happening. All right, should I end for the night? It's late. I did have another topic. Yes, Peter, we need restrictions on Trump, on the government, on anyone who's fascist enough to believe that they have a right to restrict immigration and the free travel of people who have harmed no one. That's what roads are for. They're public thoroughfares. Everyone has an equal right to travel them. No one's invading the homes. No one's taking anything away from you. And what it is the right-wing socialist has been trained to hate the immigrant, but the real reason is they don't want to lose their socialist programs. That's what it comes down to. They're taking my stuff. Okay? And there's always going to be a bunch of strong man arguments. People repeating the propaganda that they hear on the news and from Trump or whatever. But they can't even read the Constitution. They can't even be bothered to study history. Don't even argue with them. They're just fascists. They're just fascists, is all. So there's no point. Any restriction on immigration from the government is a crime. Anyone who supports it is supporting crime. So next time somebody says immigrants need to follow the law, nope, there's no law. That's not a law. All laws, Benjamin Franklin, all laws created in contradiction to the Constitution are immediately void. There is no laws against immigration. There's a lot of illegal statutes being enforced at the point of a gun. There are no legitimate laws against immigrating into the United States. They're all void and illegal the moment they were penned, just like this executive order of Donald Trump. Now, I realize that the fascists and the terrorist police forces and the terrorist border patrol forces, they don't care about the Constitution, they don't care about your rights, and they will feed you propaganda to make you believe that their crimes, turning you into slaves, are keeping you safe. The wall is to keep you in. not to keep criminals out. The criminals are working with the very government officials you are electing and doing whatever they want and coming and going whenever they please. If you think that narcos and terrorists have a hard time getting into the States because of a wall or because of these restrictions, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. It's true. You're just completely ignorant and outside of reality. Elon doing the Nazi salute, I don't know. Look, these guys are fascists, right? Trump is a blatant fascist, even if he occasionally does some. Fascists sometimes do things that are good, guys. Just like police. Police are criminals. I've not found one good cop. That doesn't mean a cop never stops to help your wife change your tire or push your car out of the road. It doesn't mean a cop never does a good thing, but a mob boss can do that too. It doesn't make them good or like their job is legitimate just because they sometimes do something that is good. Although in the case of police, they usually do it with a film crew so they can do a propaganda. The Nazi salute thing, I know people are going on, but I think we like to get hung up on this stuff. It's funny because in Mexico, I see them doing, I'm not going to do it, then they'll make a meme about me. I see them doing that symbolism a lot, but it has nothing to do with Nazism. It's more like, I don't know what the significance of it is in Mexico, but I see politicians doing it, and it's not related to Nazism from anything I can tell. Also, as a public figure, I've had people spin my, look at Gavin's hand signals, look at the way his logo is, oh, he's this, he's that. And so I know people love to take things and gossip about him. I could firmly believe that Elon Musk believes in those values. But the fact that he was excited and waving his hands around and doing what he could have easily been trying to do a fist pump and did a Nazi salute. I just highly doubt that he intentionally did that. And I think that's not really the big topic here when you have politicians and government agencies murdering people and committing treason, is what I would say. That I wouldn't get too hung up on that. And let's focus on educating people about the fact that the government has no authority over immigration. I'm going to do one more. All right. We're still going here on the Gavin Seim Show. If you're watching live, thanks for being here. And the trolls are trying, but they just can't make an argument. All they can do is throw names. But I just want to do one more topic, completely different from all the unconstitutional presidential orders that happened today, and completely different from the fact that there was actually some good pardons this week, and completely separate from the scam crypto coins launched by the president and the first lady. I want to stop for just a minute and talk about the child molesters. Because I get labeled a lot for defending the rule of law. And there was a post on my good old Grant County, my good old hometown county terrorists page, the Grant County Sheriffs. Okay? And it was so par for the course. Now, I often leave comments for the lovely folks, the lovely criminals at the Grant County Sheriff's Office. But it said a 35-year-old Florida man is awaiting sentencing after pleading guilty to the sexual assault of a child. Okay, now, I want you to listen to the words being used. Plea agreement. Cardenas was originally charged with 1 count of first-degree rape of a child and 1 count of first-degree child molestation. A plea agreement means Cardenas was convicted of the crimes. In reaching a plea agreement, prosecutors recognized the seriousness of the crimes. They also, listen to this, they also recognized if the case went to trial that the child victim would have to take the witness stand and discuss the traumatizing and embarrassing events of her victimization. Okay? So they make a plea deal so that the victim doesn't have to testify. Now, I made this comment. It applies to all your counties. Remember, each case Grant County prosecutes as a fraud based on invented facts and hidden information. They will never say what really happens. That's why they love child sex-related cases or minors. Usually they're not even children. This is a profit system and why they bully inmates into plea deals to avoid charges they know are bogus and create a narrative for the ignorant to create an illusion of security. Of course, I got mocked by all the Grant County gooder boys accusing me of being a pedo and all this stuff, right? I'm a crackhead. This is what happens if you actually have knowledge, common sense, critical thinking skills, and know the law. Now let's go back to this point and why I wanted to bring this up. I don't know this person, but I do know people in Grant County that have been charged and sitting in jail for years without trial on BS charges that are related to sexual stuff. And literally sitting for years without trial. Okay? Again, let's come back to what the Constitution says. What was their reasoning for because the people are on here like, oh, string them up, oh, child rapist. No one even cares that this person wasn't even convicted of rape, right? Faces a sentence of 78 months to life in a state prison, followed by, and so everybody, including most of the people I know, are like, oh, child molesters, they should get everything coming to them. And the reason I wanted to do a spot on this, and I've mentioned this before and I catch a lot of flack for it, is to stop and think. Almost every sexual case you hear about, have you ever noticed you're never given facts? The government they're almost always regarding minors. That's what they prosecute. Because, oh, we're not going to tell you anything to protect the victim. This defies the whole concept of a justice system. The criminals at the Grant County Sheriff who have no problem beating or murdering or robbing people, if it suits them, let's actually look at what the Constitution says. We don't even have to get into the double jeopardy here. Let's go straight to the Sixth Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. How does that sit with the people that are bullied into plea deals? It doesn't say they can enjoy the right. They shall enjoy that right to a speedy and public. That means you get to know the facts. There should be no conviction. There can be no legal conviction if the facts are not presented by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have previously been ascertained by law and be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted, to be confronted with the witnesses against him and to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor. To be confronted with the witnesses against them. Let's go back to what the Grant County Sheriff idiot said. If this case went to trial, okay, let's contrast the two of these just so you understand. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. They recognize that if the case went to trial, the child victim would have to take the stand and discuss the traumatizing and embarrassing events of her victimization. U.S. Constitution. To be confronted with the witnesses against him. It doesn't matter if it's a child or if they're under an arbitrary age line invented by the government. You get to be confronted by the witnesses. So what do? They invent larger charges, and many of them, to say that you will be put away forever and ever, but if you plea out, we will give you a little bit less of suffering. That is a crime. That is a blatant violation of the U.S. Constitution. It's a blatant violation of human rights, and it's a blatant violation of all forms of due process. So who are the terrorists? Grant County Sheriff. And every sheriff's office, every state prosecutor, every county prosecutor, every federal prosecutor, you have to understand when you see these, and sometimes it's people, I can't believe he did that. This is the problem. All they have to do, any one of you watching this right now, particularly if you're a man, all they have to do is invent a minor, an underage, a child sexual crime against you. You don't even have had to do anything. You don't get to have them witness against you. Somebody can just invent something and say someone did something, Uncle Tom did this, right? When we had a justice system If Uncle Tom did something inappropriate, Dad would deal with it. These cases almost never involve rape. A lot of times nothing even happened. Occasionally something happened. And back in the old days, it would involve probably Dad punching Uncle Tom in the nose and sending him packing. Because it wasn't that huge of an issue. Everything is blown up to make you a victim today, so that by living in fear, you give up your freedoms, your constitution, and your humanity for the sake of feeling safe. That is not freedom. That is not due process. That is not protecting children. You cannot say someone was convicted of rape when they weren't convicted of rape. You cannot say someone's a rapist when they weren't even charged with rape, as we talked about many times on this channel. And you cannot say that someone is a rapist when they were never even given the basic fundamentals of due process demanded not only by human rights, but by the highest law of the land, saying that they have to have a trial and their accusers have to face them in court. It doesn't matter if their accusers are under the age of 18. It's irrelevant. And if a trial is not given due process, if a criminal case is not given due process, the conviction is illegal and it's void. And furthermore, under the Fifth Amendment, you can't even try them again, because no person shall be put twice in jeopardy for the same offense. So many people sitting in prison, like Rick Gerber, who was a defender of the Bundys and many other people, because they wanted to railroad him and they couldn't convict, so they just kept trying him over and over again in double, triple jeopardy for the same crimes until they finally convicted him. And if you're stupid enough to think, oh, he was a rapist, I read the news article. Have you noticed the news articles never say anything? If you're dumb enough to believe this propaganda coming literally from the hands of police and prosecutors who are fabricating stories every single day, sending them to the news to be repeated on their networks, so that you will believe that you need these criminals to protect you from rapists and murderers and speeders and people who run from cops and stealers and all this stuff, when they are the ones robbing you blind and violating your rights. If you're that ignorant, then may your chains rest lightly upon you, but not on me. Thank you. I'm getting too old for this. I wish someone would listen. I really do. I wish people would just love their neighbor. Stop looking for reasons to hate people. I'm tired of all the hate. That's what I am. Wild day. And yes, Steve, hard evidence. Everybody's saying rapist or thief or whatever. If there's no evidence and no due process given, there is no real conviction. It's a fraud. It's no different than a lynch mob, and that's exactly what these people in the comments section of these, that's what everybody who reads a vague article that says so-and-so did something to a little girl, we're not going to tell you what, only that we should put him away. If you fall for that, you're truly stupid. It's not to protect children that they're hiding the facts. It's so that they can fill for-profit prisons and look successful in their prosecutions that they're hiding the facts. The government doesn't care about protecting the children. Good to see you in there, Ace. Anyways, guys, I think I covered. I'm going to take this, probably cut this stream off, and I'm probably going to put these two segments as separate videos. The Inauguration Day segment and this one. Because I've been watching this. I've seen so many people suffer. I see people going to prison on these so-called sex crimes that they committed. And there's never any crime presented. It's always just vague, mumbo-jumbo cop speak, cop-splaining, prosecutor-splaining. What is the purpose of borders? It's not to restrict immigration, and it never was. The purpose of borders is to define the territory for your culture and the territory within you, where within you defend the rights of your people from being violated from outside forces in other countries. That's the only purpose of a border. This whole, like, there's no borders. Oh, there's no, without immigration restrictions, there's no borders, no country. This is completely invented rubbish propaganda that just came about like in the past 30 years, and people are too stupid and ignorant to actually crack a book and read history or even read the Constitution. No one thought like this in the past in the United States that had any influence. It's absolutely ridiculous to think that having a border means you can therefore restrict people from crossing it, when that was the whole point of the United States defining those rights, and that border was to protect that right to travel. The irony is in saying we have to protect America, they mean the United States, because the United States is not America, the whole continent is America. We have to protect America by restricting immigration. They're literally defying the entire founding principle of why the United States exists. Mark, have you not been listening? Does it apply to the rights? Defend the rights of their people. How does that apply to outside people? It's a U.S. citizen. You've literally never, I try not to pick on individuals here, okay? Go read the Constitution. Just stop talking and go read the Constitution. The Constitution, the rights in the Constitution are human rights. They're not for citizens. Again, for the 400th time in the past year, there were no citizens when the Constitution was written. The Bill of Rights is not for citizens. It's enumerating rights that already existed. The Founding Fathers didn't even want to make the Bill of Rights because they said these are human rights. If we give them in the Constitution, the government might think that they granted us those rights and they somehow have authority over them when these are our natural God-given rights that we have a right to kill over. These are human rights. Obviously, if you're in a town, a country, a ranch, the borders that you've defined, you're going to protect the rights of your people. It doesn't mean the other guys don't have rights. Stop talking out of your ass, people. I'm sorry. It's just stupid. Okay, I should be calm. I'm sorry. I'm going to have a heart attack one of these days. I'm not here to beat up on Mark. Look, I get it. I used to be ignorant like this too, where I just believed all the propaganda on every right-wing talk show I heard. Because I'd never actually taken time to study and not be an ignorant stooge for government propaganda. But it's not hard. Read John Locke, read the Constitution, and read a little U.S. history. We're talking about a reading assignment you can do in a day. Read John Locke's Second Treatise of Government. Read the U.S. Constitution. Do a basic study on the Founding Fathers, the original debates, and the Anti-Federalists. It's so simple. It's the law. Leave people the frack alone. They can travel wherever they want. And you have nothing to say about it. And if you try to use force to stop them, you're a criminal and they can justifiably use force against you to resist. It doesn't matter where they're from, and it doesn't matter that you're American. And Mark, if you were playing devil's advocate, I appreciate it. If you do actually understand what I'm saying, maybe you're just trying to get me to rant. I think people just want to see me rant. Man, the focus on the camera sucks tonight. What is going on here? I keep going out of focus. I feel like our country is equally going out of focus. So if Mark, again, I appreciate when bring up good topics. That's why I don't like to name names, because I don't know where everybody really stands. So if I'm calling people stupid or ignorant, it's true, but I'm trying to speak generally because I was once stupid and ignorant also. Can we just love each other a little bit? If you think of people as your neighbors and your family, it's not an accident that Jesus said love your neighbor as yourself and do good to them that do wrong to you. It's not an accident that even in the Old Testament, God told the Jews, for those that are Bible believers, it's literally a command in Deuteronomy. They couldn't even restrict immigration there. They said you have to treat the foreigner the same as you would treat a citizen. These are like not just human rights. These come from like the most fundamental basics of human rights. And the only way to stop the police state in reality, trust law and lawsuits and electing new none of these things will do it. I've been watching it all, guys. I've been there on the front lines. I've been seeing the people go to prison. I left my own country to keep from it because I didn't want to be dead or in a cell just yet. None of the games work. The people who play them, if they get loud enough and get enough voice, they go to a cell or get dead as well. The only way to do it is stop thinking a politician will save you, that the party will save you. Use your voice, love your neighbor, and stand up for people, and stop believing the propaganda that you're being fed. All right? It's late. I'm going to call it a night. I'll break out the 2 main videos from this and post them probably tomorrow or something over the next couple days if you guys want to come back and share them, because I know on the live streams we've been going for a while. I've been ranting a lot. What do we got? We've been going for an hour. No one wants to watch me talk for an hour unless they can talk back like you guys do. All right? But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all channel backers and super chatters and people who support me and motivate me, because it's tiring watching this. Some days I feel old, and some days I feel young, and I go out and take photos and do my job and take care of my family and don't care about what people say about me. Peace, you guys. Take care of yourselves. Love your neighbor. I'm going to let it go with this hour. We'll see you next time.